Today, we reach a milestone achieved by fewer than 5% of podcasts worldwide. Welcome to our 100th episode.
Over the last 100 episodes, we've shared our lives with you. From fights with the mafia, fleeing countries on the brink of war, barely surviving a shootout, being chased by bears, travelling the world, battling food poisoning, visiting every Disney park on the planet, running 70-mile ultramarathons, seeing North Korea, and telling the story of the poltergeist that ran Scott's family out of their home. We've bared it all. We have also had the privilege of interviewing incredible guests, from Hollywood actor Wells Jones to the Canadian wanderer Melissa Rodway and the #1 intimacy coach Monica Tanner. Every episode has been a joy, even the tough ones recorded from war zones, airports and smelly bathrooms. Today, we're looking back on the journey so far, revisiting some of our favourite, funniest and most watched moments, and sharing where the next 100 episodes will take us. Thank you for being part of the journey. Welcome to the 100th episode of Yalla Habibi.
Welcome to the Yalla Habibi podcast. I'm Scott.
And I'm Shelby.
We are a couple exploring what freedom looks like in a modern relationship. We are not here as experts, and we are definitely not the Instagram couple. So if you have ever felt pulled between what you are meant to do and what actually feels right, you are in the right place. For those who don't know, Shelby is our resident lexicographer and etymologist, also known on this podcast as the countdown legend, Susie Dent.
Before we jump in, take the like button on a trip, take the subscribe button on a cruise, give the podcast 5 passports, and share the episode across the globe. It genuinely helps us to grow and keep making more episodes like this.
Relationships, drama, philosophy. Relationships, drama, philosophy.
Happy 100th birthday to us.
Happy birthday to Yalla Habibi.
Happy birthday to Yalla Habibi. Happy birthday to Yalla Habibi. Happy birthday to us.
That was beautiful.
That was beautiful. Yes, happy birthday to us. And what's even crazier is it was Shelby's birthday yesterday, actual birthday.
It was, yeah, not my 100th.
Not 100th, no.
I 10 and 4.
I mean, whilst you are a cougar, you're not that much of a cougar, my goodness.
What's that mean?
Well, if you were 100 and I was 32,
Oh,
then
not
that'd
that
be...
much of a, I thought you're like, you know,
No.
you're not a great cougar.
I think a 32-year-old with a 100-year-old, I think that's gone past the cougar limit. I feel that's in, I don't know, what's grandma? There must be a word for grandma.
Abuela cougar.
Abuela cougar. No, she's not an abuela cougar. But yes, this is weird, but also awesome.
Yeah, well, it started, it's quite, poetic or nostalgic in ways. There's many emotions because we started this podcast right at the very, 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 very start of our travels. So 2.5 years ago now, when we were in our accommodation in Bali, I can remember us recording our jingle.
Yeah, oh, I do remember that. Oh, wow, good memory. Yeah, because we were, we were in like, it wasn't really a villa, it was, I don't know, how would you explain the accommodation?
They call it a homestay, so like the family lives on the site as well. It's extremely common in Indonesia if you go there, that the accommodation will be like, they'll have multiple like bungalows on their property, but they'll live in one of them, grandma will live in one of them, cousin will live in one of them, and they all have different roles around the accommodation. Like one of them will be, if you need a taxi, it'll be the uncle, for example. Grandma probably cooks the dinner. Everyone has their different role within that community.
It's actually really handy because you just have a full family who are obviously very local and they sort you out. But getting to the start of the podcast is we were on our own for a little while in that accommodation, and then but there was a bungalow next to us, and like the night before, a couple had moved in, and then there's me shouting down the mic, relationships. If I had to do it, I had to do relationships, psychology and travel. Philosophy.
You know, a jingle, mate.
I don't even know I jingle now. philosophy. But the embarrassing bit was I also had to do it in a metal accent. A metal accent. Shelby will show you.
Well, as you will hear on the jingle that you just heard it moments ago. So it goes relationships, travel, philosophy.
Just relationships, travel, philosophy.
Exactly. So we both had to do those three in high pitch and then also record them separately in like
Different pitches in harmony.
in a couple of different pitches and as a screamo band. So yeah, the couple, well, they didn't speak for us for the rest of the trip, so that probably tells you something. But yeah, that was a crazy start. That was from 1 to 100. And at that point we were doing it one every 2 weeks. And then maybe like 6 months in, we started doing it every week. We've always kept it Tuesday at 10 a.m. UK time, but we went after 6 months to every week, and it is officially 100th birthday.
It is. I can believe it. But I mean, we'd said it was such a long time as well before that we were saying, we should start a podcast.
Yeah. I was up for it. I'd run a couple of podcasts in the past, some for companies I'd worked for, some on my own and with friends. And I've always enjoyed creating content. We've both had separate YouTube channels on our own. We've both always enjoyed creating content. So I think the podcast was perfect because we can manage it with our day-to-day lives and commitments of our work commitments, and we can just make it fun when it's just us. And that's very much what we have done. And we will sort of share with you how it's evolved, because it very much has, from episode 1 to now. I mean, even the content we share is quite different. But the core of it has always been the same. It's always just been us bearing it all and sharing everything and our perspective from what we've experienced in life in different things that we're passionate in. So that's always been the sort of core, but it has definitely become a bit more, I don't know, a bit more focused, I would say, in the last few months, which we found much better for us as well. Just feels like we're creating something more meaningful, I think.
Yeah, definitely. Like, we'd always, originally when we were recording these episodes, we'd have like a long list of things that we would talk about. And some of our episodes were well over an hour long as well. So I think that we've really, as we've grown and we've evolved, we've learnt along the way. We've had a couple of different sort of things that we've added, like segments. I feel like we've had a strong evolution as a podcast.
We have, and we will share that evolution. But before we do, let's get into. So I looked at the analytics of our podcast, and so we're on 5 audio platforms and YouTube, so 6 platforms altogether. All the ones you'd expect. And I sort of brought the analytics together because I was quite interested to see who listens to us for the last over 2 years now. Is it 2 years?
Yeah, 2.5. Well, yeah, pretty much. So Bali was our first place that we went. Well, apart from Dubai the week before, like it was the start of our travels, like 2.5 years.
Yeah, 2.5 years. Wow, look at that. And it was also very important to me that, because you see so many podcasts that are created for travel, because people get all excited that they've broken the system and they go traveling and they start either a couple travels channel or just individual, whatever. All that happens is, I've done a bunch of research on them, is they all finish after 2 years, 1 year, 3 years, however long they traveled, it stopped. And I was so adamant that it wouldn't happen with us. So that's why we've very much evolved the brand in recent times. So it has that sort of continuation. But yeah, I was looking at the age, and what's crazy is, for some weird reason, Spotify does one of the age brackets of listeners, age 0 to 17, which is kind of concerning, because I feel like you have to be older than 0 to have a Spotify account.
Well, I suppose they just factor it in like children versus adults, maybe.
Yeah, which we do have some percentages on. It's our smallest, but we have a few percent on, which is...
Oh, really?
Yeah, it does exist. And it goes all the way 60 plus. And that's on all our channels. So we're very open, it seems. It seems that, and I mean, we always make it for everyone. It's not, I wouldn't say anything we do is really age restricted. There's probably the odd moment where we've had to restrict it, but that's maybe just got a bit of a naughty episode. But we try to keep it as PG as possible, really.
Yes, we are an inclusive podcast.
Yeah. But our biggest age demographic is age 25 to 34, with just under 50%, 43% altogether.
Well, I was just going to say I find that quite interesting because I'm just in that age bracket now, on the top end. But it's interesting that we are within the 25 to 34 age bracket, and that is the majority of our listeners too.
Yeah, I think that lines of where my head was at, and then a close second is 45 to 44, of around 15%. So yeah, I think as we get older, they'll get older, I think. But that, I mean, throughout my whole life, throughout my life, or most of my life, let's say, since my parents broke up, I always gravitated to older people, which was interesting. I think it does come from that. But people have always said, like, I do come across a bit older than I am. So I think it sort of makes sense that I would have thought that more of our demographic would be a bit older than us.
Yeah, I would say, like, we often joke actually as well that we are kind of like an old married couple in some of our ways, which maybe comes across in maybe it doesn't even come across in the podcast.
I don't know.
Like, we have certain tendencies, such as, well, just a brief example, we went out on Christmas Eve into the city centre near us, and we stood in the doorway, and the manager came in. She's like, "Oh, you look like you're trying to decide whether or not to come in." They're like, "Oh, we're trying to decide if it's too loud."
Yeah, and it was too loud. It was way too loud. I'm sorry, but don't have music on if you can't talk. Like, if you're a club, fine, you're a club, we're here to dance, we're here to boogie. If you're a bar and I've come in with a group of people, or Shelby, like, I don't sit down, have 10 drinks and just stare at each other. Like, I can't fucking hear. So I don't get that, but that seems to be true in every bar around the world. Is the music's always at least 3-4 notches too high, and I don't get it. I don't get it. It really frustrates me.
Me too. But that's just one example of why sometimes we actually resonate with older people.
Yeah, well, we are a bit older, not necessarily maybe mature, but just older.
Yeah.
In ways. Interestingly, gender, male dominates that a bit more. So I guess, Shelby, you've got a bit more work to do.
Who says that the men aren't coming for me?
Well, that's true. That's probably more right.
Have you heard my voice?
I have. Well, it's annoying because we get this company that always sends us, we get lots of companies that want us to buy their tools and stuff like this. And there's this one company that does SEO for podcasts. And every blooming time it does this like SEO, they do like an SEO analysis on your podcast for free, and they send you and say, hey, we can do more. And what's hilarious, annoying for me, is it always has Shelby's name on it.
As in, like, they're addressing it to me, or?
No, the SEO, they've done an SEO analysis, and one of the top 3 that we come up for is Shelby, your name.
Well, that's just because I'm the stud.
Well, of course. So that's just a funny thing they do. Like every 6 months they'll send us it, and I'm like, oh, it's Shelby still at the top, and I don't exist. Oh, no. So yeah, maybe that mail is for you. But something that really surprised me, these first 2 countries didn't, but the US and UK are the top 2 of the 3. It actually goes USA first, which is interesting, and then UK, then Vietnam. Of all places, like it's strong, Vietnam, for the audio platforms. It's over like 29%.
I do find that quite interesting, because I can remember, because we did have a month in Vietnam, and I did wonder if that had some bearing on it, but obviously that's a good while ago now. Yeah, interesting. Perhaps it's just because we speak so highly of Vietnam that they know that we love them.
Yeah, I mean, I do believe in when we are in the countries that it will get pushed more to those local to wherever you are locally. Like, that's pretty natural in most algorithms. So maybe it's just when we were in Vietnam, because we do see that when we're in a country, we do see an increase of views from that country. I mean, I remember India being quite a jump that month, but Vietnam obviously has sustained. So hey, let us know if you're a Vietnam listener. I mean, we love the country. We'd love to know that. Imagine if it's a Vietnamese female. That really would be breaking the mold.
If you're a Vietnamese woman listening to our podcast, please let us know. And also, you have an awesome country.
You do. But we appreciate everyone involved in that, and the brackets that weren't mentioned. whether genderless, not the same age or a different country, wherever you are. We love you and we appreciate you. But that was just some interesting stats that we've got on our end that we can see the majority are coming from over the 100 episodes. But something maybe even crazier that I guess it's going to toot our horn a little bit is this.
When we start this podcast, obviously nobody starts a podcast intending for it to be short-lived, but that is often the case. So in terms of milestones, we've just reached our episode 100. And so that means that we are actually, I'm going to start with a headline, we are in roughly the top 5% of podcasts for longevity, because only 4.8% of podcasts ever reach that point. In fact, 53% of podcasts finish within 1 to 3 episodes. So a lot of them quit basically immediately. Then up to 10, by episode 10, 4 out of 5 podcasts are gone. By episode 25, around 3/4 have quit. Episode 50, there's only 8.5% that reach it. And yeah, we're sitting in that top 5% at the minute. And we very much intend to get to our episode 200, which only 2.5% ever reach. So just a few statistics for you there.
Yeah, I love looking these up. So I checked out this. We have sources here: Podmatch, Listen Notes, and Buzzsprout. Basically, an article compiled all the data from these 3 places who'd done a lot of research on podcast analysis. And I'd heard the one on episode 7. I always heard that most podcasts leave at episode 7. That was just a phrase I'd heard before. But when I dived into these further details, I feel pretty proud that we can say we're in the top 5% of podcasts. I know we're not in the top 5% of viewership, and we'd love to be there. My goodness, we would. But it's proud to say that we've kept that consistency up, and I still love it as much. If anything, I'd say I love it even more today, because it feels more meaningful every day, because we just make it better, we craft it more, we make it more strategic, we make it more personal. So I'm liking it more than ever. So yeah, it's exciting.
Yeah, and I would say 1,000%, if it wasn't for you, Scott, we would not have reached that point. And that's not to say that I'd have been like, oh, let's not bother. But I would have been a lot less stringent and like on the ball with it. Is that the right term? Like, so there's definitely been weeks where I'm like, oh, I really can't be bothered to do this now, or like, can't we just put it out a day late, or all these kinds of things. And Scott has been very much the driver of us being consistent with putting out this podcast. So thank you, baby. We would not be here without you.
I do appreciate that. It's very kind of you to say. Yeah, I'm proud to say we've only, I was trying to count it up earlier, but I would say absolute maximum, there's been 3 times where we've either had to delay an episode by a couple of days, or we've had to miss. I think we've only ever missed 2 weeks.
Yeah.
In the entirety of time, and that was because like there was just absolutely no way we could do it. There was just too many issues we were fighting at home. So
not that we were fighting.
No.
We were fighting some issues, like such as bereavement and things at home. So.
Yeah, bereavement, major travel disruption. That there was just no way. Because I mean, like we said at the start, we've done this in airports to make it happen. We've done it in war-torn countries. Real stories. It's covered in one of our 99 episodes. We've done it in smelly bathrooms. We've made it work. Like right now we're standing in, I guess you'd call this a front room, but we've got the laptop on top of a fridge freezer. We've got the microphone stacked on 3 chairs. It's boiling because we've had to shut every door, so then there's not loads of sound. So this is the kind of setup that this is pretty standard for us. Once we settle down and stop traveling as much, we'll be able to make it a little bit more comfortable. It's just pretty standard for trying to keep it going as we travel. But I think now let's get on to what is our most replayed episodes. So I looked at YouTube. So we use a platform called Spotify for Creators, formerly known Anchor. And it's great because you just publish your episode and it goes out to a bunch of different audio platforms. But we also started using YouTube, so we could explore that a bit as well. So we've got the analytics from both. But surprisingly, the most replayed are quite different. I thought there'd be some similarities. There is actually one similarity, but otherwise it's actually wildly different, which surprises me. So let's go through YouTube and Spotify as the top two. I think that'll be the best to go through. So we'll go through top three and some notable mentions. So our number one most replayed episode on YouTube is actually episode 37, quite early on, and that was Yalla Habibi rebrand and our crazy catfish stories.
Well, you see, that is quite an interesting one. So that, I think it's nice that people care to know about our rebrand to Yalla Habibi, because originally our podcast, for those that don't know, was called Balls Deep Podcast. And we, for a few different reasons, decided to rebrand to Yalla Habibi, which, as some of you will know, means let's go, my love, which is one of the reasons that we chose to rebrand, because we felt like it was more in line with us. Would you like to say more about that, my Dan?
Yeah, it was more in line with us. It was a beautiful saying that we learned in the Middle East when we traveled there. And from a strategic point of view, there were just too many Balls Deep podcasts. There were just too many. Every other week, there'd be a new one. It'd be very American sports focused. And yeah, so we just felt, let's try find something a bit more niche play. And there were two other podcasts that had either Yalla or Yalla Habibi in the name. But one wasn't live anymore, and the other one was just, I think it was just Yalla Talk or something, which does still exist. So we thought, okay, that looks like a spot that we can take. It's a unique name. It's in another language, so I don't think many people will take it. So yeah, there's a lot of beauty behind it. I feel like it's got a lot of meaning behind it. We did love the name Balls Deep, and there were others that were on the table. One of the other top ones was Shenanigans. Actually comes from a story from our third date, where we were at a comedy event. And I don't know why people do this, but they do, especially in the UK. But the crowd, a lot of the time, will just create characters for themselves. So they'll just lie. It's just a thing everyone does. So the comedian go, oh, hi, what's your name? Where do you come from? What do you do? And people just make it all up, and they just it's a bit of fun. And anyway, so did we. So we said we were a country folk musicians, and we were called Shenanigans. So that's where it came from. So again, it had a lot of meaning to it. But again, there was a ton of episodes that had Shenanigans in, so that was kind of the reason we didn't, even though we were quite attached to it.
Yeah, but I think Yalla Habibi works really well for us. Like Scott said, we sort of fell in love with the phrase when we were traveling in the Middle East. We really enjoyed our time there, and you just hear it all the time. And it's just so, it's like, it's a bit like in Spanish, people say, oh, vamos, let's go, come on. Like, so it can mean literally, let's leave where we are and go elsewhere. But it's also like, get in, come on, like, Yalla Habibi, let's go. Like, it literally means, let's go, my love. But it's like, yeah, let's go. Like, you could say it in a sporting event, for example.
Yeah, you can use it in many contexts, couldn't you?
Yeah.
Many contexts. You'll see a lot of mothers as well shouting Yalla to their kids as well. So it was quite endearing. So yeah, it seemed like a lot of people were interested in that episode, which is interesting. And obviously I had our catfish stories. You'll have to go there to check them out. Mm-hmm. They're pretty damn wild. I shared my weirdest one. And then the second episode that most replayed was episode 66, where we were called Surviving the World's Strongest Typhoons Thanks to AI and Harry Styles. Do you want to tell them what that's about?
Well, yeah. So talking about Vietnam, we were staying in Hoi An near Ambang Beach, and we learned about, I think it was like on the news in like somewhere we were waiting to pick up food or something. Like we just seems like, hang on a minute, maybe we need to learn a little bit more about what's happening here. And it was going to be a very, very, very large typhoon coming directly at us. And we sort of had to decide, really, what do we do? Do we stay here, which is maybe slightly, which will definitely be in the path of the typhoon? Do we go inland where we'll be out of the path of the typhoon, but if it changes course, then there's not as much infrastructure? Or do we go slightly out the path of the typhoon to another city that definitely has better infrastructure and might have higher ground? So that's what we ended up deciding. We went to Da Nang. We specifically chose a hotel that was slightly raised off the ground. It was minimally raised off the ground, but also it had internal rooms. So we chose an internal hotel room, which is a funny story in itself, because when we went to check in, they offered us an upgrade to a room with a window and a view, and we were like, no, thank you.
Yeah, they were very confused. It was one of those moments where people just stare at us in confusion. Yeah, and everything Shelby just said was chosen by AI. So, yeah, we just literally worked with a couple of AI models, asked them a bunch of questions. It said Da Nang, it said this specific hotel because of the location it was, because of the distance to the riverbanks, the access to main roads, etc., etc. So yeah, we were absolutely fine. It did come pretty hard. It was Typhoon Regasa and Typhoon, I can't say the other one. It was called like Bulagoli
Oh, yeah.
or Boagoli, something like this. But they were pretty damn serious. They did kill people, sadly. They absolutely, in Philippines specifically, it really, really, they killed a lot of people. It was quite bad. So we're just one of the lucky two that were okay due to AI. So yeah, that was that story. Harry Styles, that was to do because he ran, I don't think it was his first marathon, but it was one that people found out about, and people just, I don't know why, but people just went wild for that. So we've learned if we put Harry Styles in the title, it works.
Then another one that was popular of our podcast episodes is when we had our lovely guest, Wells Jones. He is an Antarctic explorer, Hollywood actor, and an Amazon bestseller, which is exactly what the title says. Really cool, interesting guy. It's a great episode. He actually, has a lot of connection to the Middle East as well. His book is about Lawrence of Arabia's journey. It's really good read. He's a really interesting guy, so I would definitely give that one a listen. Also, his son directed one of my favorite films, like Crazy, which is about a British student studying in Los Angeles, and she falls in love with an American guy, and it's all set around Santa Monica. It's beautifully shot, but that's Wells's son. So yeah, really, really cool to interview him.
Yeah, it was awesome. So yeah, he was actually our second guest, and yeah, he was a big guest. He actually reached out to us, and we were very honored to have a Hollywood actor and accomplished author and adventurer to join us. It was super exciting. You'll know him from films like The Lone Ranger or Whiskey Tango Foxtrot, one of our favorites he did, The Girlfriend Experience, and many others. He was a really, really interesting guy. Wow, he had some stories. I think we didn't even touch the sides with his stories. I think we could have probably spoke to him for about 8 hours. So yeah, that's a very replayable one. And that is actually our third most viewed episode on YouTube. And just two notable mentions as well is coming in at number 4 and 5 was our most recent series. It's actually our first ever series we did, a 4-part series around does travel make or break a relationship and what actually determines the outcome. And I'll get into more about what that was all about later into the episode, but do go check that out. It's our new sort of content strategy, I guess, and I'll share the details of that throughout the episode, but that also is now, it's great to see it performing high up there as well, because it's something we're super passionate about and something that we're leaning more into as we move forward. Yeah. So our most viewed, let's go for our top 3 episodes in Spotify. Number 1.
Apology to Albania, Cannabis Loophole, and The Man Legally Dead But Alive. Yalla Habibi podcast. That was episode 58. Albania was one of the countries that we were never, it wasn't on our radar to go to. Not that we wouldn't have, but it was just not on the plan for these 3 years. And going to Albania came out of one of the scariest travel experiences we had, which is when we were in Jordan and there was a conflict with Israel and Iran, and the missiles that Iran shot over to Israel were very, very visible in the sky from where we were in Jordan. So although we were never in a country that was targeted, it was obviously a concern to us, and we quickly left the country, ended up going to Pristina in Kosovo, and out of that we ended up going to Albania and Montenegro as well. So that's how we ended up in Albania.
Yeah, and sadly one of those missiles did accidentally drop out of the sky and did actually blow up a house in Jordan. So it can happen. So this is what we were worried about. And really, that episode that taps into an argument we had with, we're going to say the mafia because they acted like them. And we have another story coming out very soon when we do our review of Brazil. We've got a very similar story. I would say leveled this up even further to the point where I was pooping it. Shelby sort of managed to find her cool, but I was, I will get into that in the following episode, so keep an eye out for that. But basically we ended up in a bit of an argument, but it got quite intense in Albania. And they were just idiots, basically. They were angry that we didn't buy drinks from their bar because they said we're in their seats, but they never came up to us and told us they were in our seats. It wasn't obvious. It wasn't like they had numbers on. It was just some beach recliners. Everyone was on them. They never went to anyone. And then we went and grabbed a drink from. We didn't even realize where they stood was a bar. It had no cooking facilities. It was just a shack with a couple of guys in it just staring at everyone. So we just went to what next door to it, which clearly was a bar. We got drinks and stuff, and it really made them angry because now to them, the way he described it to me is, you've come into my house and you've just made yourself welcome without even greeting me. I was like, oh God, it's a bit overblown. And then his boys got all weird and got really angry at us for just kissing on the beach.
And we weren't kissing like vulgarly, if that's the right word. Like literally, one of us was. Oh, I think I was going to get the pizza from the same bar that we got the drinks from. And so like I just gave Scott a kiss. I was like, I'll be back in a minute. Just a peck. Went away, came back, and then you came and met me and you're like, something's happened. And told me the whole story about how they were how they were responding to us and not being happy with us being sat on their beds, even though it just wasn't clear at all. Like all the beds were identical along the beach, and that tiny little bar that they were in, when we realized it was there, looked like it was attached to the other one anyway.
Yeah, it wasn't clear. And the reason why I went over to buy a drink was because there was the manager plus like 5 other lads, and they just did not break eye contact with us. And I was like, oh, this looks like it could end up in a bad place. We're obviously not going to win this. So I tried to break ice and go buy a couple of beers off them, which they were saying, no, you'd have to do it, with all the other guys just staring at me as if like, you don't do it and we're going to come and break your legs. I go, I think I need to do it so you don't kill me from my partner. So it was ridiculous. And the man legally dead, check that out. It's a wild, wild thing. There is a man who exists today. He is legally dead, but he still stands on 2 feet, and he still stands on 2 feet. So check that out, episode 58. The second most replayed on Spotify is episode 57, and that was the Culinary Groundhog Day Beach Brawl Blow Up Dolls. We might get these confused, actually. I think we've got this episode confused. That was actually about the mafia. I think the apology was because, this is going to confuse you now, the apology was the following episode after that, because we basically went to, where did we go to Albania first? Where the coast was? Durrës, yeah. Do not, Durrës. I honestly don't. It's just not very pleasant. Like the main town, it's nice historically, architecturally, it's beautiful. But I'll be honest, I did not feel welcome. People in the shop were not happy to see us. Restaurants, obviously they were just, I must say, really unpleasant. But that was our first experience of Albania, so we were like, yikes, Albania's a bit rough. And then we went to Tirana, the capital, which usually is the opposite. The capital would be bad. And actually, the Tirana was awesome and a completely different experience. Tirana was amazing, really fun city. People were like overly nice, did everything for us. We found better food because the food was really mediocre in Durrës. It's the same for Balkans. Sorry, but your food menus, you need to expand it. It's really bad. Burgers, pizza, and pasta. I challenge you to find anything else different on a menu. So then we did an apology episode, just say, hey, actually, Albania's actually quite cool. We just faced a couple of idiots.
Well, yeah, and I think that's a really valuable lesson as well, that if you've been to one place in a country, you really, 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 really can't judge it based on that. Just like, if people came to the UK and they went to London and formed an opinion on the UK, but like, you have no idea what our country's like. So yeah, I think it's a valuable lesson that if you've only been to one place, you can't just be like, yeah, the whole country is like that particular experience. And then our third most popular episode on Spotify is Surviving Lao, How Travel Breaks You and Rebuilds You. And well, Lao was just a fun experience all in. We had a great time there. We stayed in a pretty kooky accommodation that was like a haunted cabin in the woods, which was also like a cross between that and I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here with all the creepy crawlies and whatnot. But overall, it was a very, very good experience, was Lao. And obviously, people are interested in hearing about it. So if you haven't been to Lao, check it out.
Laos is, I'm going to be on the record, it's definitely one of my favorite countries we've visited. I might even say my favorite country I've ever visited. It's just, there's a lot of countries that will offer many different in variety, for sure. Laos is very good for a couple of things, but oh god, it's just, Luang Prabang is one of the most magical places I've ever been to. I don't think I've been to a better place than Luang Prabang. I absolutely fell in love with it. It's amazing. So yeah, if you're a hiker, you're an adventurer, you just want to connect with the religion, the festivals there, it's beautiful. It's really fun. Okay, so where's this podcast going? So that was our most replayed episodes. But let's sort of give you a bit of the admin, but hopefully some exciting admin. So where's it going? So just to give you a background, our theme and format has very much evolved. I mean, we went from weekly or bi-weekly actually updates on our life to focusing on now things we truly are passionate about. And since we've done that, it does feel a lot more meaningful. It feels more strategic. It feels like we have a vision. Whilst we did enjoy sharing lots of crazy stuff that happened to us, and we still do bake that into our episodes, it just felt a bit disjointed, and it felt like, what was the end goal here? What were we trying to build towards? We just sort of just were throwing anything out there. So in recent months, we've just sort of created it to make it a bit more strategic and just a bit more scalable. So now the podcast theme is very much Yalla Habibi explores freedom within a modern relationship through honest stories of a couple drawn to adventure, challenging expectations, and following what feels right in life. The way we share this with you now is through a slightly different content schedule, which we started maybe 2.5 months ago. And that's where we tap into our new theme with basically a 4-part mini-series, which focuses on a topic that we are truly passionate about, broken up by an episode about a country we have recently traveled to. So we do a 4-part episode series, and I'll share the one we recently did in a moment so you understand what that might be. And then after we've done that, we do one country episode, which will be the most recent country we visited to, and we do our full breakdown review of that country with our many other segments that we do. So that's our schedule, and it just allows it to be a bit more meaningful. And so for the series, it jumps into anything we're passionate about. It could be travel, it could be relationships or philosophy. But it's now open to something more scalable, more than that. Like veganism is a big thing in our life. Rock and roll, we love it. That's a big, being fit, staying fit, fitness. Shelby's love of dogs, our love of whiskey. All these things are things that we're passionate about and just we truly are attached to every day of our lives. So we're just now building series around these. So it's not one focus, like we're just talking about travel, we're just talking about philosophy. It's very much about a couple that are drawn to adventure, challenging the expectations and following what feels right in life, exploring these things that we're passionate about to allow us to break the mold and just live a full and free life together. So that's very much what it is now. And for an example is our first series, which I'll let Shelby take you through.
Our first series was, does travel make or break a relationship, and what actually determines the outcome? So we had 3 episodes going into specific areas of what would determine that. For example, expectation versus reality when traveling. Like you're expecting, it's going to be the time of your life, but maybe the reality is a little bit different. Conflict and arguments. So like how you as individuals in your relationship manage that and then sort of and meshing that within travel and how that might even alter how you approach conflict and arguments. And then the same with decision making and control. Is one of you more of a leader, one of you more of a follower? Is one better at making certain types of decisions? And then for our fourth and final episode of that series, we had a guest on. We had Monica Tanner join us. So that was a really wonderful relationship expert. And we sort of dove into all of that there. Now, our second series, which is starting next week, we'll be exploring whether online dating is really helping people find lifelong partners or making love harder than ever. We're diving into topics like values, lifestyle, upbringing, and compatibility.
Yeah, and just on series one, that was our first one. I must say it's the most proud piece of content I've ever created. It just had, we put a lot of work into it, pages and pages on Google Docs, which we work out of a lot of the time. And the fact that we could get an awesome guest like Monica, one of the top relationship and intimacy coaches, who could come on and share her knowledge and her experience on that question and dive into it, was just amazing. And she was able to really sort of end that series for us and put an answer to it. And like Shelby just said, this next series, so the first one was more about travel and specifically going into the relationship aspect of it. Now we're going to dive into the dating world. And again, tomorrow it might be about veganism. The day after that, it might be about my love for running. It's just about things that we're passionate about and that are attached to us. And we're going to explore them and see, how do they make us individuals? How do they allow us to explore ourselves and be happy in our relationship? And we hope that maybe you will enjoy that content. We hope that maybe you'll learn from this, or maybe you can teach us something. Maybe you can guide us somewhere where maybe we've had the wrong perspective on something. It's just looking to be an all-inclusive place to, I guess, challenge the mold of a traditional relationship and share how we're trying to do that, and share the things that we do to explore ourselves and explore our happiness and freedom with each other and individually. And in the second series, we're going to do that also. So we're going to be touching on like vegan versus omnivore, which very much was us. I was a big fat omnivore. I wasn't fat, but cut that. Anyway, episode one is going to be very much like a diet fight, vegan versus omnivore, which I was an omnivore when we got together. Politics, can love survive, the different values, upbringing, are we dating the person or the way they were raised? And, we'll have an expert to wrap it all up to understand, is the modern dating landscape actually allowing us to find the ones, our lifetime partners? So hopefully you'll enjoy that. We enjoy putting them together. And like I said, the country episode breaks that up. So we're not just doing back-to-back series because it takes a lot of work. We have to put a lot of research into it because we want it to be good. So we break that up with a country episode because that's a bit more of a simpler episode for us to do. But more importantly, it's an episode we want to carry on doing because we do travel. And whilst we are going to stop traveling this year, we still have a lot of passion for travel. So we want to extend that into our channel some way. And that's how we're doing it. So this is where we share honest stories and experiences from every country we visited, from our first impressions, how vegan friendly it is, and whether it's truly worth the trip. We cover it all. It truly is your ultimate guide, so you can stop guessing and decide if it's the right place for you. Any comments?
All I have to say is what a lovely opportunity to be able to reflect on how far we've come. Like, thinking about some of those older episodes and those conversations, how they were recorded, where they were recorded. I can really picture where we were in those moments. And it's really lovely to be able to reflect on that and look ahead to where the podcast is going.
100%, 100. Yeah, I love our podcast even more today, and I look forward to seeing where we're going with it. And I appreciate you guys sticking around, even if you just hopped in for an episode. Thank you. And if you're back again, thank you again. We appreciate you. Let us know what you like, what you don't like, so we can improve this podcast every day of the week. If you did enjoy this episode, be sure to check out our other 99 episodes. All the country episodes are available on all podcast platforms. Just search for Ultimate, the country name, travel guide, like Ultimate Nicaragua Travel Guide or Ultimate Peru Travel Guide. and you'll find them all. The most recent one is the Peru one, so you can check that out. And for YouTube, you can just go to the Ultimate Travel Guide playlist. Super easy. It's just one playlist, has all the latest country episodes in one place. And also don't forget to check out our first ever 4-part series we mentioned. And this is where, again, we answer, does tour make or break a relationship and what actually determines the outcome. And again, you can find this series on all podcast platforms just by searching S1. And you'll find them. But on YouTube, there's a simple playlist. It's called S1 Traveling as a Couple, Dream vs. Reality. So yeah, do check them out. Let us know what you like. We really appreciate you.
Thank you for being part of our first 100 episodes of the Yalla Habibi podcast. We're excited to see where we are when we reach episode 200. Thank you for listening and supporting us. We genuinely appreciate every one of you. Your support has made this journey far more meaningful than we ever imagined. Here's to the next 100 episodes. Thank you.
Thank you. Another adventure wrapped up.
But the journey never ends.
Keep your bags packed for the next one. And remember, when in doubt, just say, Yalla Habibi. See you next time.